During our movie night at home, my boyfriend Harrison fell asleep on the couch with his phone unlocked. Messages kept coming in from a contact labeled Work Project, including Miss Your Touch Already and Last Night Was Amazing, Can't Wait to See You Again Tomorrow. We had been together for 3 years and had just put a deposit down on a house. My heart raced as I carefully put his phone back and gently covered him with a blanket, acting like nothing had happened. Earlier that day, my phone had received 51 increasingly desperate texts. Harrison and I had been together for 3 whole years. We had just secured a cute little craftsman house in the suburbs last week. We even had names picked out for our future kids and a joint Costco membership. Practically marriage in millennial terms, right? Friday nights were always our movie nights. It had been our tradition since about the 2nd month of dating. We took turns selecting the movie, made some fancy popcorn, I'm talking nutritional yeast, and just relaxed together after a long work week. It was honestly my favorite part of every week for years now. This past Friday, it was Harrison's turn to choose, and he picked a boring documentary about cryptocurrency. I hope I'm not offending any crypto enthusiasts. It's just not my thing. About 45 minutes in, I noticed he was completely out on the couch. Not surprising since he claimed to have been working late all week on some important project. I was about to wake him up and suggest heading to bed when his phone lit up on the coffee table. It lit up again and again. His phone was unlocked, and the messages were right there on the screen from someone saved as Work Project with an emoji. Initially, I thought little of it, but then I read, Miss Your Touch Already. Then came, Last Night Was Amazing. Can't Wait to See You Again Tomorrow. My heart literally stopped. I felt breathless, like someone had punched me in the gut and tossed me off a cliff. 3 years, 3 years. All the plans, promises, I love yous, and you're the one speeches. Were they all lies? I must admit, I did something I never imagined I would do. I picked up his phone and quickly scrolled through the conversation. I know it was an invasion of privacy, but something deep inside urged me to uncover the truth, and it was ugly. This wasn't just some flirty texts. There were plans for hotel meetups, explicit messages, and even photos that I immediately wished I could unsee. Based on the timestamps, this had been going on for at least 2 months. There were messages about me, detailing how he was handling the glorious situation and how he was trying to figure things out without hurting me, as if cheating on me for months wasn't already causing me pain. The audacity of this man. I wanted to scream, to throw his phone through the window, to wake him up and demand answers. But something inside me, a cold and calculating side I didn't know existed, told me to wait. So, I gently placed his phone back where it was and pulled the throw blanket over him like a caring girlfriend would. I went to the bathroom where I had the quietest panic attack of my life. Just to clarify, I didn't confront him that night. I needed time to process my emotions and plan my next steps. I spent the remainder of the night pretending to sleep while my mind raced with questions. Who was this person? How long had this really been going on? Was that why he had been working late so often? What about our house? The deposit was most of my savings. The next morning felt surreal. Harrison woke up, kissed my forehead, and acted as if everything was perfectly normal. He even made me breakfast and chatted about paint colors for the new house. I've never been an actress, but that day I deserved an Oscar because somehow I managed to smile and nod, pretending my entire world wasn't crumbling. As soon as he left for his Saturday morning gym session, which I now suspected was really a meetup with Work Project, I called my best friend Sally. She came over immediately, and we spent the next 3 hours going through every detail I could recall from those messages. Sally suggested we do some digging. Since Harrison and I shared a credit card for household expenses, we logged into the account online. There it was, evidence of dinners at restaurants I had never visited, Uber rides at odd hours, and even a hotel charge from last weekend when he claimed he was on a business trip. I felt physically ill. The more we searched, the more we uncovered. It was as if every suspicion I'd buried over the past few months was being validated. The late nights, the sudden work emergencies, the new Dior cologne he had started wearing, the password changes on his laptop. It all made sense now. But here's where I need advice, Reddit. I don't want to just confront him and risk being gaslighted or have him minimize his actions. I don't want to walk away and let him spin some narrative about how things weren't working out. I want him to truly grasp what he has thrown away. I want him to experience the same earth-shattering pain that I'm feeling right now. Sally thinks I should gather more evidence before confronting him. She suggested I pretend everything is normal for a bit longer while I devise a plan. So, yesterday, I spent the day being the perfect girlfriend. I made his favorite dinner and didn't question when he was texting and smiling at his phone, even though I now knew who it was. I even initiated intimacy, which made me feel physically sick afterward, but I had to maintain appearances. This morning, I casually mentioned that I might have a work trip next weekend, and he perked up immediately. He tried to hide his excitement, but I could see the gears turning in his head about having the apartment to himself. It confirmed everything. I'm going to pretend to go on this trip, but I'll actually be staying at Sally's apartment across town. I have a feeling he will invite Work Project over to our home, and when he does, that's when I'll make my move. I'm not typically a vengeful person, but something inside me has snapped. 3 years of my life, my savings, my trust. I can't just walk away with nothing while he gets to have his cake and eat it too. Edit. To address some common questions. Yes, I've taken screenshots of everything, including the credit card statements. And no, I won't do anything illegal. I just want him to face the consequences of his actions. Edit 2. For those asking about the house deposit, we haven't closed yet. The money is in escrow, and I've already contacted a lawyer about my options. Don't worry, I'm protecting myself financially. Edit 3. Several commenters say I'm being manipulative by not confronting him directly. Maybe you're right, but after 3 years of building a life with someone who's been living a double life, can you blame me for wanting closure on my terms? First update. Okay, first of all, wow. I did not expect my last post to blow up like that. Thank you to everyone who commented with advice and support. Reading your messages has honestly kept me sane through this nightmare. You all are the real MVPs. It's been exactly 1 week since I discovered Harrison's betrayal, and I have so much to update you on. So basically, I've been living a double life this past week. On the outside, I'm still Harrison's loving girlfriend, excited about our new house and our future together. But on the inside, I'm essentially a private investigator, gathering evidence and plotting my exit strategy. As many of you suggested, I met with a financial advisor on Monday and told Harrison I was having lunch with a coworker. The advisor confirmed what many of you had mentioned in the comments. I needed to protect myself ASAP since the house deposit came mainly from my savings. She helped me draft a letter to the escrow company. I haven't sent it yet, but it's ready to go when I make my move. I also opened a new bank account at a different bank and started transferring small amounts of money from our joint savings. Not enough for him to notice, but enough to give me emergency funds when everything goes down. Edit. To those calling this stealing, it's my money that I earned and deposited. I'm just protecting what's mine. But here's where things get interesting. Remember how I mentioned that Harrison works at a marketing firm? Well, on Tuesday they had their monthly team happy hour, which partners are always invited to. I usually skip these because they're boring, but this time I made sure to attend. Y'all, I met Work Project in person. Her name is Dina, and she's the new creative director who started about 3 months ago. Harrison introduced us so casually, as if my world wasn't literally falling apart while I shook her hand. She's exactly what you'd expect. Gorgeous, confident, stylish, everything I've been feeling insecure about lately. The way they interacted was so obvious once I knew what to look for. The inside jokes, the lingering eye contact, and how he kept finding excuses to be near her. At one point, I went to the bathroom and circled back through a different entrance to the bar, only to find them in a corner, speaking intensely with their heads close together. They jumped apart when someone else approached. I wanted to scream or throw my drink in their faces, but instead I smiled and played dumb. I even complimented her earrings, which looked expensive by the way, and asked about her background. Turns out she moved here from Chicago for the job opportunity. Yeah, right, more like for my boyfriend. As we were leaving, I overheard her tell him, "Your girlfriend seems so sweet," in a fake sympathetic tone. I literally had to dig my nails into my palms to keep from losing it right there. That night, Harrison was extra affectionate, probably out of guilt. He even suggested we look at furniture for the new house online. The audacity! I sat there picking out couches with him while imagining setting fire to everything he loves. Don't worry, Reddit mods, I'm not actually going to do that. So, Wednesday rolled around, and I decided to take some of your suggestions about tracking his movements. I downloaded our phone carrier's app, which shows the location history for phones on our family plan. Goldmine. Every Tuesday and Thursday when he claimed to be working late, his phone was at an address across town. A quick Google search revealed it was an apartment complex. Guess whose name popped up when I cross-referenced the address with some social media searches? You guessed it, Dina. He's been going to her apartment twice a week, like clockwork. Thursday was the hardest day to maintain my act. I knew exactly where he was going after work, what he was doing, and with whom. He texted that he had to finish some graphics for a presentation and would be late. I responded sweetly, "No problem, babe. I'll save you some dinner. Love you," while literally shaking with rage. While he was gone, I dove deep into our finances. We've been together for 3 years, but we only merged some of our accounts about a year ago when we started seriously saving for a house. I found charges for nice restaurants, wine shops, and even a jewelry store from last month. Jewelry. I've received exactly 0 pieces of jewelry from Harrison in the past 6 months. Edit. Several people asked if the jewelry could have been for me as a surprise. Nope. The date of purchase was the day before Valentine's Day, and he only gave me a card for Valentine's Day. Just a card. Now I know where his real gift went. Friday was movie night again. The irony wasn't lost on me that exactly 1 week prior, my life had been turned upside down during this same tradition. Harrison picked another documentary, this time about some tech billionaire, equally boring. This time, I focused on him instead of the movie. The way he kept checking his phone, the way he angled it away from me while texting, these behaviors I had previously ignored now screamed red flags. After he fell asleep, unable to make it through the movie, typical, I checked his phone again. The conversation with work project had been deleted, but there was a new chat with Dwork, which was obviously Dina. They were making plans for next weekend when I'm supposedly at my work trip. This brings me to my current plan. I've told Harrison I'll be leaving Thursday night for a healthcare conference in Denver. I work in office management, so this is plausible. In reality, I'll be at Sally's apartment across town, watching everything unfold via the doorbell camera I secretly installed yesterday while Harrison was at the gym. Based on their texts, Dina will be coming over Friday night to our apartment, probably sleeping in our bed. The thought makes me physically ill, but it will provide the final proof I need. While they're playing house in my absence, I'll execute the next phase of my plan. Send the letter to the escrow company about the house deposit, transfer the remaining money from our joint accounts, pack up my essential belongings. I've already been slowly moving sentimental items to Sally's, print copies of all the evidence I've gathered, prepare for the confrontation of a lifetime. Several of you suggested some wild revenge scenarios in the comments, and I appreciate the creativity. But I want something more impactful. I don't just want a momentary gotcha moment. I want Harrison to truly understand what he's losing. Not just me, but our future, his reputation, and his dignity. The hardest part has been pretending everything is normal this week. We've still been sleeping in the same bed, eating meals together, making plans for the future. Just yesterday, he wanted to talk about potentially getting a dog for the new house, and I had to sit there, nodding and discussing breeds while knowing there will be no house, no dog, and no future. Sometimes I look at him and still see the man I fell in love with. The man who held my hand through my dad's health scare last year. The man who surprised me with concert tickets for my favorite bands. The man I thought I'd grow old with. Then I remember the texts, the lies, the betrayal, and I feel nothing but cold determination. Am I doing the right thing, Reddit? He's taken so much from me already. My trust, my plans for the future, my sense of security. I want to reclaim some power in how this ends. To address some common questions. Yes, I've been tested for STIs. So far, all clear. And yes, I've documented everything for potential legal issues regarding the house. Edit 2. Several people asked if I've considered that this could all be explained away somehow. Trust me, there is no innocent explanation for the texts I saw and the evidence I've gathered. This isn't a misunderstanding. Second update. Y'all, my hands are literally shaking as I type this update. The past 72 hours have been the most emotionally draining of my life, but what unfolded was so much more satisfying than I could have imagined. I'm still in shock that I actually went through with it. Let me pick up where I left off. Last Thursday, I kissed Harrison goodbye with my overnight bag packed for my conference in Denver. He even helped carry my bag to the car, told me he'd miss me, and that he'd just be catching up on work while I was gone. The lies this man tells with a straight face? Unbelievable. I drove around the block, waited 20 minutes, then headed straight to Sally's apartment. We'd set up a command center of sorts, snacks for stress eating, and enough wine to get through what we knew would be a difficult night. While we waited, I finalized everything. I sent a notarized letter to the escrow company withdrawing from the house purchase and transferred my portion of our joint savings to my new account. I also contacted my doctor to have my medical records transferred to a new practice, changed all my passwords and recovery emails, and removed myself as an authorized user on our credit cards. Around 7:30, the doorbell camera alerted us to movement. And there she was, Dina, looking gorgeous in a dress I could never afford, carrying an overnight bag and a bottle of wine. Harrison greeted her with a kiss that made my stomach turn. They didn't even wait until they were inside to start pawing at each other. In the doorway of the home we shared, that's when something inside me shifted. Sally saw it happen. She said my whole face changed. I wasn't sad anymore. I was done. Okay, here's where I did something I never thought I would do. I opened the doorbell camera app on my phone and hit record. I captured everything. The kiss, them going inside, even their conversation through the door about how nice it was to finally have the place to themselves. The audio was crystal clear. You could literally hear Harrison telling Dina how excited he was for a Harrison and Dina weekend without having to worry about me. I saved that recording, then downloaded the Ring app on my laptop so I could continue recording throughout the evening. Every time they came into view, like when they went out on the balcony with wine glasses, or when Harrison ordered food delivery, I captured it all. That night, I did something even bolder. I set up my old phone on our apartment balcony. We're on the second floor, and the balcony wraps around to the bedroom window. I climbed up the fire escape with Sally's brother, keeping watch, and positioned the phone where it could see into our bedroom through the gap in the curtains Harrison never closes properly. The next morning, I went to our apartment. While I knew Harrison would be at work, I had exactly 3 hours to get everything important out before he might come home for lunch. Sally brought 2 of her brothers to help, and we worked like a well-oiled machine. I only took what was undeniably mine: clothes, personal items, family heirlooms, and a few pieces of furniture I'd brought into the relationship. I left all the joint purchases and anything that could be disputed. I wasn't interested in stuff. I just wanted out. Before I left, I did one final sweep to make sure I hadn't forgotten anything important. In the bathroom, I found her hairbrush and makeup on my vanity. In the kitchen, I found 2 wine glasses in the sink. And, well, let's just say the evidence of their night together was unmistakable. I left my key on the counter, along with some printed evidence of their affair, text screenshots and credit card statements, just enough to let him know I wasn't clueless. But I kept the recordings for myself, at least for now. Then I blocked Harrison on everything: phone, email, social media, even Venmo. I contacted our friends and family to inform them that we had broken up, and that I wouldn't be discussing details. But I needed space from anything related to Harrison. I expected to feel victorious after executing my plan so perfectly. Instead, I just felt empty. 3 years of my life, gone. All our plans, our inside jokes, our routines, erased in a single morning. I cried the entire way back to Sally's apartment, but then his messages started coming through on my work email, the one communication method I'd forgotten to block. First email, 12:34 p.m. Gloria, where are you? Just came home for lunch and saw your stuff gone. What's happening? Call me ASAP. Second email, 12:46 p.m. I see the papers you left. This isn't what you think. Please call me so I can explain. Third email, 1:03 p.m. I know I've made mistakes, but we can work through this. Don't throw away 3 years over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Is that what we're calling sleeping with your coworker for months while planning a future with someone else? The emails kept coming all afternoon, each one more desperate than the last. By evening, he was alternating between profuse apologies and anger at me for invading his privacy and acting so drastically without talking to him first. When the emails didn't work, he started showing up at places he thought I might be: my favorite coffee shop, my parents' house, Sally's apartment. Thankfully, she didn't tell him I was staying there. He even went to my workplace, causing such a scene that my boss almost called security. The audacity of this man to act like I was the one who did something wrong? That's when the rage I'd been suppressing finally boiled over. So I did it. I really did it. I created a private link to all the recordings, the doorbell footage, the balcony conversation, everything, and sent it to Harrison's parents. To those saying this was too harsh, maybe it was. But this man was planning to buy a house with me while carrying on an affair. His parents had helped with our house deposit. They deserve to know who their son really is. I didn't include any angry message or explanation. I simply wrote, "I thought you should know why Harrison and I won't be buying the house together after all. I'm sorry to send this, but you deserve the truth." 10 minutes later, Harrison's phone apparently blew up with calls from his parents. How do I know? Because he sent me 20 text messages from his friend's phone, saying I had ruined his life and asking how I could send that to his parents. But I wasn't done. I also sent the link to his boss, not out of pure revenge, but because their company has a strict policy against inter-office relationships, especially between people at different levels. They had been conducting their affair on company time, using company resources. Edit. For those saying I went too far by involving his boss, Harrison had recently received a promotion that should have gone to his co-worker Larry, who's been struggling to support his family. Harrison got the promotion partly because Dinah advocated for him in meetings. That night, Friday, Harrison apparently went on a bender with his friends. I know this because by 2 a.m., I received 51 text messages from unknown numbers, him borrowing friends' phones to get around my block. They range from, "I love you more than anything," to, "You've destroyed everything I've worked for," to, "How could you do this to me?" My personal favorite, "You can't just disappear after 3 years together and expose my personal life to everyone. What am I supposed to tell people? Maybe tell them the truth, that you're a cheating liar who got caught?" Saturday morning, Dina herself reached out via Instagram, now also blocked. Her message wasn't apologetic this time. Apparently, she had been called into an emergency meeting with HR and was facing possible termination. She blamed me for overreacting and not handling this like an adult. By Saturday afternoon, word had spread through our friend group. The reactions have been mixed. Some immediately took my side, disgusted by Harrison's behavior. Others think I went nuclear by involving his workplace and family. A few have tried to remain neutral, saying I should have just walked away quietly. But here's the thing about consequences. Sometimes they need to be public. Harrison wasn't just betraying me in private. He was lying to his parents about the house, manipulating workplace dynamics for his benefit, and planning to continue his double life indefinitely. Why should I be the only one bearing the pain of his choices? Saturday evening, Harrison's mother called me. How did I forget to block her number? To my shock, she wasn't angry at me at all. She was devastated about what her son had done, and thanked me for revealing the truth, painful as it was. She apologized for raising such a dishonest man, and said their family would be having some serious conversations with Harrison. After that call, I turned off my phone completely for 24 hours. I needed a break from the drama, the emotions, and the constant reminders of what I'd lost. When I turned it back on this morning, there were more messages, more missed calls, more people wanting a piece of me and my story. So, where am I now? Still at Sally's, still processing, still alternating between confidence in my decision and moments of wondering if I went too far. The apartment manager has confirmed that Harrison is clearing out his things today, so I can return there soon if I want, but I'm not sure I do want to. That apartment is filled with memories I'm not ready to face alone. I'm considering finding a new place entirely, a fresh start. I've also decided to take a week off work to clear my head. My boss was incredibly understanding once I explained the situation, minus the gory details. As for the house, the escrow company confirmed they've received my withdrawal notice. I'll lose some earnest money, but that's a small price to pay for not being legally tied to Harrison for the biggest purchase of my life. Harrison is still trying to reach me through mutual friends, but now his tone has completely changed. He's not saying he deserves a chance to explain anymore. He's begging me to please stop sharing the recordings with more people and swearing he's learned his lesson. Too little. Too late, Harrison. Edit. To everyone asking if I'll ever let him explain, maybe someday when it hurts less. But right now, I can't imagine any explanation that would make what he did okay. Edit 2. For those saying I was too harsh with the videos, maybe. But after being lied to for months while planning a future together, I needed him to face real consequences, not just a sad breakup he could spin however he wanted. Edit 3. Several people have asked for the recordings. Absolutely not. I didn't create them for entertainment or to completely destroy Harrison's life. I shared them selectively with people who needed to know the truth. I'm not looking to humiliate him publicly beyond that. Tomorrow, I meet with a therapist, thanks to those who suggested this in the comments. A lot of you wanted to know if I ever confronted him face to face after all that. And the answer is yes. But not how or when I expected to. About a week after I sent those recordings, I was having coffee at this little cafe across town, specifically chosen because Harrison would never go there. Too hipster for him, lol. I was journaling, something my therapist suggested, when I heard someone say my name. I looked up, and there he was, Harrison. He looked like absolute hell, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled clothes. He'd clearly lost weight, and his eyes had a haunted look I'd never seen before. For a split second, I felt a surge of satisfaction seeing him so wrecked. Then it was replaced by pure anxiety because I was not ready for this confrontation. He asked if he could sit down. My first instinct was to say no and leave, but something in me needed closure, so I nodded. What followed was the most honest conversation we'd had in months, maybe ever. I just listened as he tried to explain himself. The affair with Dana had started as flirting at work, then drinks after late meetings, and, well, you know the rest. He claimed he never meant for it to happen, classic excuse, that he had been stressed about the house purchase. Oh, please. He said he still loved me, but had gotten caught up in the excitement. Gag me. But then he addressed what I'd done, sending the recordings to his parents and boss. To my surprise, he didn't seem angry about it anymore. He said that after the initial shock and humiliation, he realized it was exactly what he deserved. His parents had apparently given him the disappointment talk of a lifetime. They made him pay back their portion of the house deposit and told him he needed to grow up and face consequences. At work, he'd been put on probation and removed from Dinah's department. Larry, the co-worker who should have gotten Harrison's promotion, was now being considered for advancement instead. When he finished talking, I asked just one question. If I hadn't found out, and if I hadn't exposed everything, how long would you have continued lying to my face every day? He couldn't answer, and that told me everything. I told him calmly that while I appreciated his honesty now, it was too late. He hadn't just cheated. He had stolen my time, my trust, and my sense of reality. That while he was figuring things out, I was planning our future, believing in promises that were already broken. When I told him I forgave him, not for his sake, but for mine, because carrying anger would only hurt me in the long run, his face was priceless. It was like he'd been preparing for more rage and had no defense against compassion. I left him sitting there at the cafe, and it felt like closing the final chapter of a book I never wanted to read again. Edit. So many of you have asked if this means we got back together. Absolutely not. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. The weeks that followed were a blur of practical matters. I found a cute studio apartment that's just mine and decorated it exactly how I want. I sorted out the financial mess from the canceled house purchase. I lost some money but protected most of my investment. I started therapy twice a week. Best decision ever, y'all. I leaned heavily on friends who showed up in ways I never expected. As for Dina, she actually reached out again about 2 months after everything went down. Turns out, after the HR investigation and all the drama at work, she decided to transfer back to the Chicago office. She told me Harrison had been lying to her too, claiming our relationship was basically over and that we were only staying together until the house purchase was complete for financial reasons. She apologized again for her part in everything and wished me well. We're not friends, obviously, but at least there's no lingering animosity. So, what about Harrison? Last I heard from mutual friends, I don't ask, but people tell me anyway, he's transferred to his company's Seattle office for a fresh start. Apparently, even after the probation period ended, the workplace had become too uncomfortable with everyone knowing about his affair with Dina and the recordings I sent. His boss gave him the option to transfer or look for a new job, and he chose to transfer. Harrison's parents still call me occasionally, believe it or not. They were shocked by the recordings I sent, but after processing everything, they've maintained a relationship with me, separate from their son. His mom even sent me a care package on my birthday with homemade cookies and a heartfelt card saying she still thinks of me as family. The house we almost bought, it sold to another couple last month. I drove by it recently, saw their moving truck in the driveway, and felt nothing but relief that it wasn't me tied to that mortgage. Last week, I was unpacking the last box in my new apartment. Yes, it took me 6 months to fully unpack. Don't judge, LOL. And I found an old birthday card from Harrison that read, "To many more years of adventure together." A few months ago, finding this would have sent me into a spiral. This time, I just smiled sadly and threw it away. Edit. For those asking if I still have the recordings, yes, but they're locked away where no one else will ever see them. They serve their purpose, and I don't need to keep revisiting that pain. Edit 2. To clarify, since so many are asking, yes, I'm legally and financially completely separated from Harrison now. No shared accounts, no shared debts, a clean break. Edit 3. To the person who DM'd me saying I'm damaged goods now and no man will want me. Who hurt you? Actually, don't answer that. Just do better. Edit 4. For those asking if I regret sending the recordings to his boss, maybe a little. But Harrison using his relationship with Dinah to advance professionally while Larry, who has 3 kids and a sick wife, got passed over. That needed to be exposed too.